Okay, so we are live, man.
Cool. How's your day going?
Little bit tired. I think it's because of yeah, it's because of the work that I've been doing. So I've been doing a lot of work nowadays. Yeah. So
Hmm.
how is your life?
Uh, Busy as always.
That's great.
Trying to keep up with the pace of life.
Yeah, that's great.
And
Being busy is actually is a great, but sometimes you need to just relax and enjoy the life that I actually, I think I've been able to do that since 2022, since the new year started. Anyway, I wish you, a beautiful new year, and I wish you that you have the time to relax, enjoy with your loved ones, because that's matters. That's what really important. Having the time to be able to spend your time with your
uh,
loved ones, with your parents.
yeah, exactly. That would be an awesome thing to really achieve and have to experience. But I have this question that I've been longing to ask you, Sachin. We've just been busy, caught up in our own things. But this question is quite an important one because I've been worried that how do we really break the chains? I mean, of emotional constraints within our lives.
Wow, that is a wonderful question. That's a wonderful question. How do we break the emotional chains? Emotional chains. The truth is, many of us, we start. This is the new year, and we are starting to explore a completely adventurous path, one that has never been done before, one that has never been traveled before. So this is an adventurous path, something that's amazing, and this to make this travel possible, to make this adventurous path possible, to make this this transition being from being the old guy to the new person, to make that possible, we need to break away from the chains that actually puts us behind the bars of prison. And emotional constraints is actually one of the bars, one of the chains that actually, that have the power to pull you back. So it's as if you were, uh, you know, put inside a um, glass room where you can see the outside world, where you can see the possibilities, where you can literally see, that new life waiting for you there, but you are unable to, go beyond that glass ceiling. It's because you're um, you're constrained because of your emotional chains. And it happened. So I just would love to, come to the point to answer you before, answer your questions by going through this process. I just would love to first to say how this happens. We create these emotional constraints. So we are the creators. We create. So when I say we are the creators, there is something good news in it, because if we are the creators, we can also the creators of the keys to unlock these constraints. We have, or we hold the keys to remove, to unlock these constraints, emotional constraints, because we are the ones, we created them within us. And how do we do that? How do we create these emotional constraints? Every time when you go through a very emotional experience, like imagine you go through a painful experience. Maybe it's losing your loved ones. Maybe it's having a painful experience from your loved ones, or maybe it's failing at at your goals, or so it could be any painful negative experience. And when you go through this painful negative experience, you feel you feel this emotional pain, and most of us tend to suppress these emotions beneath us. We tend to wear fake smiles and appear in front of people. We tend to fake our emotions by showing the wrong ones when it is actually the right time to show our original authentic emotions. We tend to show our fake emotions. Why? I think it's because people are afraid to be vulnerable. I think people are often afraid to show who they are, and they want to show others what they wanted to be seen, or how they wanted to be seen. And it's a mistake. It's a mistake because you don't know how they want to see you. You don't know. And if you have a preconceived notion, okay, so if I appear in this way, that person might like me. If you have such a preconceived notion, you're going to be you're going to fail at everything you are, or you portrayed yourself as you think you are. So I think that's the path to low self-esteem. So when we suppress these emotions within us, we take the path to failures. We take the path to unable to express our true beingness, and that's a mistake. So how do we do that? So it is a art of showing who we truly are. It is an art. Breaking the emotional constraints is actually an art. So it's an art that's made by practice. So for example, every time when you suppress your emotions, you lock those emotions beneath you, making you suffer more, making you to be more miserable. So the better way to be who you are is to express who you are. You need to be vulnerable when you want to be vulnerable. You need to be, show your weaknesses when you want to show your weaknesses. Because that way, when you are being vulnerable, you invite others to connect with you. You show others who you truly are, thereby inviting your friends, inviting your loved ones to be there for you to support. And the best way to unlock these emotional constraints is to show your vulnerabilities, your emotions. So how do we do that? How do we do that? Have you, do you have any idea how do we do that?
Basically, to show our emotions and our vulnerability, I suppose, is you need to have the courage first to open up to the world, and that requires us to overcome a lot of fear that we have about ourselves. First of all, fear of judgment, fear of what will people say, I am not worthy person. I'm not worthy of being a human being. I'm not worthy of that social status or something. You know, it's the trick basically is to be open to the world and have the courage to face your fears, you know. And I think that's a gateway to get through to your authenticity as a person. Because I think one thing that I'm coming across in your statements is that we are missing uh, the real nature of mankind as a result of these masks that we wear, portraying ourselves to be that which we are not, you know. And that is very scary because I see in myself the human face fading away, you know, and we need that human face, that realness of us being in touch, regardless of whether you black, white, Indian, or we all the same. We share similar struggles. We are mankind, all of us, you see, and we need to find a way of bridging that gap, assisting each other as brothers. So by us being open and being vulnerable to ourselves, basically. But
Exactly.
I have a question also that I came across when you mentioned that emotions. Um, what can I say? Um, we suppress our emotions, but somehow are affected by the conditions in which we are subject to, you know. But then now my question is that um, how can we as mankind, uh, regardless of our past experiences, be able to take a stand and say we are bettering our conditions so that our emotions will be enhanced in a better way? Because I believe my emotions can't be well enough if my conditions are not properly, you know, attended to as a human being. What can we say about those kind of things? I don't know, maybe um, I'm a bit vague, I don't know.
Yeah, I would be quite intrigued. I am actually intrigued by that question. Yes, of course. The kind of the environment that we are in, the environment that we were in when we grew up, it affects us. It affects our environment. But the truth is, we can also control our emotions. We, of course, we are subjected to our emotions are subjected to the experience that we get. But the truth is, it's up to you how you respond to certain situations. It's up to you how you respond to certain stimuli. It's up to you. You have that. But in order to have that possibility, which is having the wisdom, having the power to choose your voice, to choose your response, you need to become more conscious. So
Mm.
I think that can be done if you practice yourself to become more conscious. And we can all share our emotions. We can all truly express who we are when we acknowledge what we are. When we acknowledge our surroundings, when we acknowledge, when we aware, you know, our surroundings, our emotions, and how we process, how we suppress these emotions, and that consciousness, that being conscious actually helps us to aware of our emotions, and thereby we will have the ability to choose how we respond to certain situations. Suppose, when someone responds you in certain ways, when you have a conversation with your spouse, you can always choose how you respond to the dialogues, the conversation that you're having with your loved one. You can always choose. You can choose to speak gently. You can choose, you can choose to speak more genuinely. You can choose to speak with confidence. You can choose to be patient. You can choose to be kind. You can choose to be brave. You can choose that. It's up to you. But at the beginning it might be a little difficult to truly express yourself. And it's because that there is a glass barrier just right in front of you, because you're not familiar with such situations. If you're not familiar with such situations, what your brain tells you to do is to get away from such situations, because do not expose yourself to be in such situations. That's what your brain says. So becoming conscious, which actually helps you to become more logic. Do I need to be kind here? Do I need to be patient here? Do I need to be more loving here? So that you will have only the opportunity to ask such questions when you acknowledge you having in that particular situation. When you are conscious. If I am conscious and if I see, okay, this is what's going on with me, when I acknowledge that, when I am conscious, I know how to respond to that situation. So being aware of your body, being aware of your emotions, being aware of your thoughts, actually let us control how to respond. And then once you become conscious, once you become more aware, the next step is to act on it. Now that is very difficult. Now when most of us, what we do is we try to avoid similar situations. When we want to be loved, we avoid it because we know that, from our previous experiences, it's difficult to be loved. It's difficult to go to that person and ask her again out. It's difficult because we see, oh my god, I go through all those painful experiences. Now do I need to go that similar situation again? Do I? No. So we try to avoid it. But my question is, why? You never know what would be there. You would never know what would that person be offering you. You will never know unless you try it. So go and try it. So there is a two likelihood of possibilities. One is you might be rejected, but there is also one likelihood of another possibility, which is you might be accepted. You might be loved again. You might be given a new opportunity to completely lead a new life. So there is a different a world out there. It's up to you to take that opportunity and to say yes. By how? How do we? By being conscious and grabbing that very opportunity. And it's possible.
Yeah, very beautiful. Your first words, you mentioned something as you need to acquire wisdom. But now you look in terms of wisdom itself. It's broad. It's not just something that you can just wake up in the morning and just say, I have wisdom, I'm a wise man. But wisdom is something that you acquire through experience in life, and through having to make mistakes and everything, and learning and not giving up and doing at this term becoming conditions. Basically, one of the most things that I think we tend to not pay careful attention to is the issue of having to take responsibility, that we can be game changers and change our situations and our circumstances. Doesn't mean that we found situations like this and we leave them like this, but we found situations like this so that we can leave them better for others to enjoy. I'm looking at this in being conscious. In being conscious, I'd like you to go a little bit deeper in that, in terms of like how do we um, come to the mindfulness of that now I feel like I am conscious. How do I notice that I'm a conscious being or I'm an unconscious being?
Okay, so I'll help you do that. Okay. What you want to do is take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. Yeah. Okay, that's it. Now just notice. Just notice. Pay your attention. Where? To your emotions, to your words, to the other person's emotions, their words, their body language. What do they need? Notice. Pay your attention. Not to the things that are not necessary, but the things that are necessary. To the things that are just right in front of you. It may be it may be, it may be that the love that your loved one wants. It may be the attention that your children needs. It may be the playful time that your friends needs with you. So it's being aware. It's just simply noticing it. It's just simply seeing that when there is, instead of just driven by these dopamines in your head and just going after things that makes you more pleasurable.
Very good. I'm quite pleased with that. In this, I'm just looking at how then do we know? Okay, now we are conscious, right? We are mindful of ourselves, but then how do I know that whatever choice that I make is the right one for me?
Well, I will tell you to ask to your conscience. Number one. Number two, every time when if you want to make a very important decision, don't run to make a decision. Don't just go after it, and just don't make sudden decision. Never. If you are making such a very important decision, of course, there are occasions where we need to make the right decision in a very short time, and that's necessary. So you can do it by asking, by choosing, by asking where your heart is. If your heart is, well, maybe for example, if imagine you want to get divorced. So ask yourself where your heart is. Is it with that person, or is it with your with something else? And ask yourself, would you be happy? Would you be comfortable? Would you be able to still influence and lead your friends, your colleagues, other people, if you make that choice? Would that choice, or would that decision make other people to suffer more? So I think by asking such questions, it would help you, because when you ask, you see, you look at all those possibilities and you analyze it. And if your heart can accept it, the choice that you're making, if your conscience can accept it, the choice that you're making, I think it's rather it would be the right decision. Now, there comes some situations, for example, where you're brainwashed. So we have terrorists, right? We have people who very orthodox religious people who believe very strongly in their religions. And I think when such people make decisions, probably it's because they believe in certain religions, they tend to make the choice. So I would again say that put people first, not the religions, because religions consist of people. Put people first. Put your brother first. Put your family first. Put your, family could be your community. Family could be your organization. Family could be the people you're surrounded with. Put your family first. And then make the choice. Not any kinds of belief that you hold, but your family. Would they have a great life ahead because of the choice you make? Because of the decision you make? Ask yourself that and make the right choice. So that's the best way to make that decision.
Wow, very impressive. You mentioned something very important, which is the conscience. The human conscience. Personally, I view it as the voice of the Holy Spirit, basically, because the conscience, basically, I take it as a voice that stems from the unconscious depth of a human being, and it speaks and is projected into our minds and becomes conscious. But we, as the human beings, we tend to ignore conscience, because many a times conscience would speak and would require an act, but you'd say, later. You see, and maybe later is very late. It means a game over. I think it's very important that issues of being responsive towards our conscience should be paid careful attention to, in order for us to make rational and conscious choices in our lives. Because so many times we just suppress things, this voice of our conscience, until it doesn't speak anymore. And then when this voice doesn't speak anymore,
That's
we
correct. That's correct.
we become indifferent to subhuman. We no longer operate at a human level, but we operate at a subhuman level. Because we are looking ahead of this voice that is intrinsic within inside of us. So it's important that we pay basic things. It's just the simple things that we need to account to that I believe makes a difference. I don't know, like Sachin, in your case, in your personal experience with regards to conscience, in closing, what would you say?
I would say, being conscious or conscience. You're talking about conscience, right? You asked me about
Yes, we call
conscience.
it.
So
Yeah, it's just the
yeah,
accent.
conscience. Of course, it's we all have conscience, and I think the limitation is based on how we grow up and the knowledge, the experience that we have acquired so far. The limitation of this conscience. So, if you are to grow in a different community, for let's say in an Asian community, your conscience could be slightly changed, toward the
Exactly.
cultural traditional background of those situations. Now, if you
Mm,
have if you have a more, if you have a Western background, knowledge, and tradition and cultural background, your conscience is slightly different. So, but still, there is a collective conscience where we
mm,
feel, this oneness, where we feel that what is right and what's wrong, what's moral, what's ethically right. So there is this collective conscience where we feel that something is right. That, for example, killing a person who belongs to a certain, our community as a humankind is actually a crime, and many countries prohibited it. It's because that conscience, it's because that we have a collective conscience, and and yet it's actually depends on the geographical, traditional, cultural background. For example, in Saudi Arabia, it's completely different. So when crimes are actually in Saudi Arabia, crimes are punished very cruelly there. And I don't think it's right to do that. I don't think, although it's my own personal opinion, I don't think it's we do have the right to kill a person. So I think sometimes it happens by accidents. Like for example, when you encounter your enemy, you tend to kill that person. Your enemy, eliminate that person. That's not that's by accident. So it's in sometimes there is no choice for us. But most of the times we do have a choice to educate that person and to bring to to more human nature, to help that person to develop that human nature. We do have that possibility. So what I think is, if your conscience tells you that if you need to make the right choice, you need to have this particular decision, you need to make this particular decision, I think it's more often because you are standing on the right decision, you're standing on the right course. And if if you want to be more better at your choice or making decisions, I encourage you to read the book Fast and Slow Thinking by Daniel Kahneman. It's one of the brilliant book that I have read in my lifetime. It's a brilliant piece of work. So I highly recommend to read his book, because it actually gives us a very vast amount of knowledge in terms of human errors when it comes to judgment, decision making, and how we perceive others, and our own biased judgments. And if we can understand our weaknesses, when we make decisions, if we can understand our weaknesses when it comes to expressing our true emotions, and if we can understand this more scientifically, I think that it can, help us to become more human, to become more better at making the right decisions. So I think I just would love to enclose this by saying that, when you unlock your true beingness, when you remove these emotional constraints, you also remove the barriers to open, to be more open to the possibilities, to be more open to the more, to more choices, so that you will be able to pick up the right choice, pick up the right decisions, pick up the right moments to live more authentically.
Wow. Thank you so much, Sachin. Well, it has been an enlightening session that we've had today, in breaking the chains, of our emotional constraints. And I would like to encourage our viewers at home, across the globe, today, make mistakes and keep on pushing, because that would lead them to find out the right path in which they need to be in, and basically reach their destination. You never give up because you failed. You made a poor choice that you are even embarrassed about, and even afraid that you're going to be judged for. We make mistakes in life, and we must be able to carry ourselves and go through. That's our only way. Not only way, but there are many other ways to become conscious and improve our circumstances, our conditions, and our lives in general, and make a better living for one and all. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much, Makai, and thank you for our for our audience for listening to us. And I would encourage you to subscribe to our channel, watch more videos like this, and definitely, it's a journey that we take together. So let's